Is this the perfect balance between economy, fun and power? Well, today we're going to find out. This is the BMW 430d Coupe. My name's Tom and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. We're on Instagram, so if you want to see behind the scenes footage, weekly updates and some of the stuff we've got for sale, click the link in the description below. So if you didn't know, the engine in this thing is a police favourite. That's because it's fast, economical and not incredibly expensive for the taxpayer to replace in case they have a whoopsie. Exactly how fast is it though? Let's see what 258 horsepower and 560 newton meters of torque can do, and do the 30 to 70 sprint. No wonder the police use this engine then. This thing is hot hatch fast, and with time of just 4.83 seconds, it matches cars with more power like the 354 horsepower Porsche Macan S. I suppose looking further up the list shows you everything that is faster than a pursuit car though. Sorry police people. Yeah. Anyway, interior. Yeah, it's a tad dated by today's standards, but it's still got all the mod cons you'd want in your luxury coupe. Heated seats, sat-nav, Bluetooth audio, Apple CarPlay, not in this one, but it's an option, and much, much more. You get the idea. One thing I like about this Generation 4 series though is that the rear seats can actually be used by adults. Yes, unlike the Mercedes C-Class, you can fit people-sized people back here. You even get your own armrest with cup holders that are tucked away unless you need them. Very nice. What's also nice is the 445 litre boot. You get a 12-volt socket, a storage net and a very neat way of folding the rear seats down. The seats also don't get caught by the front seats on the way down when you fold them, so there's no need to play car Jenga here. Fantastic stuff, BMW. Anyway, let's get on the road and feel that torque. Okay then, the BMW 430d, and this is actually my first time ever driving a 430d or a 330d. Done the 320d and a 420d and a 335d. If you want to go and see that review, I'll put a link in the top right hand corner. But yeah, first time driving the 430, and for me at least, I think this is probably like the perfect balance. I'm going to find out, because still purely rear wheel drive, which I do like, but you've got that inline six with plenty of torque. Nice and smooth, very nice to drive. But yeah, immediately the steering is less compromised than the 335d because obviously that's got X-Drive. Suspension feels the same. Nice and like a little bit sporty, but not too sporty to a point where it's uncomfortable. I'd say it's actually more comfortable than a BMW 1 Series. Feels like more like a Grand Tourer, this car. And yeah, in comfort mode, steering's nice and light. Very little to complain about. Seating position as well, absolutely bang on in this. You can get nice and low. Steering wheel, perfect distance towards me. It's just good. This thing with BMWs, they pretty much always nail their seating position. It feels like you're sitting in the car rather than on it, that's what I always say. In terms of parking, again, very good size this car. It's not too big, but it's big enough that it feels like you're driving something fairly substantial-ish. And then this has all the mod cons, like a reverse camera and all-round parking sensors, which I don't think you really need. Parking sensors alone would be enough, but you know, it's a nice to have. It's good resolution, lines telling you where you're going to go. And I like that BMW have these little bits that come up in the camera as well. Gives you like a nice visualization of how far you are away. Then once you're in a space, as you can see, you can just about get to the first notch on the door to get out the car. So yeah, it's just small enough to live with in a city, I'd say. But you're never going to get annoyed living with it. then coming out of junctions, start-stop isn't on because I hate start-stop. Wait for these guys to sort themselves out. But yeah, I mean, for me, I like rear-wheel drive, so it's more fun. But obviously, if you had X-Drive for junctions, it's going to be a bit better. It still gets up to speed fine, but you do get that slight delay where it's kind of figuring out what to do with the traction control and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's reset our trip computer. See what kind of MPG we can get on the motorway. Supposedly this does 55 MPG on the combined cycle, which is pretty impressive actually. I think the 335D from memory, I think that did just over 50 miles per gallon. And I know for a fact you can get more than that in the 35D engine. So this needs to do maybe a little bit better. I mean, it's technically like the same size of engine, so I don't think it will, but you never know. Anyway, as usual, let's get onto a roundabout and see how this thing handles. Okay then, into Sports Plus. This puts the traction in Sports, leaves the stability control on, so we can have a bit of fun, but the car's still there to catch us if we need it. Downshifts, a couple of gears. Put the gearbox into Sports as well. This will hold on to gears for even longer than it does in just regular Sports Plus. And I'm going to go for manual actually. Also makes the shifts a little bit more aggressive. Right then, let's see what's what. Oh, it never gets old driving a BMW, does it? And that's part of the reason why rear-wheel drive, purely rear-wheel drive, is very nice. It just feels a little bit sharper, a little bit more kind of ready to go on its toes. Right, into Eco now. Let's do some mile munching. See what kind of MPG we can get on the motorway. But yeah, it's a hard car to beat this really, when you think about it. Interior, it looks a little bit dated, but functionally it's very good. You know, you've got all your favourites buttons that you can assign radio stations, destinations. You can get Apple CarPlay in this. Sound system is pretty good. Can't go wrong with a Harman Kardon sound system. Not the best in the world, but I think it is pretty good. I mean, the only criticism I'd have is probably the cup holders. Other than that, I think it's a pretty nice interior, really. One thing I do like is this like fake stitching on the dash. I think that looks nice. Okay then, coming onto the motorway, even in eco mode, you got loads of low down torque. And yeah, you barely ever go above 2,000 revs, which is just lovely. You just waft. ZF 8-speed gearbox, very smooth. There's just, everything is just so well calibrated in this that it makes you want to drive like a dick, like that guy. But yeah, once you're on the motorway, get up to 70 miles an hour, cruise control on, 1500 RPM, nice and quiet, not much road noise, and we are riding on replica M4 CS wheels, which are 19 inches or 20 inches. I think they're 19 inches. But yeah, very little road noise, almost zero wind noise. The only thing I do notice is that these M Sport wing mirror caps do generate a tiny bit of whistle at certain speeds. But that's more of a problem if you're in a 1 Series, because obviously there's a bit less sound insulation than there is in this. In the 4 Series, it's fine, really. And yeah, it's just lovely. But the only minor negative on motorway journeys is that, like, obviously you've got pretty positive steering, so it does tramline a little bit. Like those undulations in the road, it kind of willows around a little bit, so it's not quite as dead straight as something like an Audi, but I think the positives far outweigh the negatives in that regard, as you've got very nice steering indeed. But yeah, let's do 15, 16 miles on the motorway and see what figure we end up with.
I keep on looking for something. Keep me up at night. I'm almost losing my mind when
So fundamentally, 47.7 miles per gallon is a pretty good figure. However, I did want to see over 50, and I know that the 35D can kind of match those figures, so, you know, I think it could be a bit better. I think on a longer journey you might see above 50. As you can see, it's still going up now, so yeah, obviously you're going to see above 50 miles per gallon at some point. So yeah, it's fairly efficient, but not quite as efficient as I had hoped. I think part of the reason for that is because this has the M Performance body kit on it, which definitely creates just a little bit more drag, so you're probably losing about sort of 5 to 7% of your fuel economy having that kit on it, but it does look good, doesn't it? So kind of worth it. Anyway, let's see that figure drop, get this thing on a B road and see how it handles. Alrighty, back into Sports Plus, Gearbox into Sports as well. Before I go for manual, I'm just going to leave it in Sports to see how it reacts. Because yeah, the ZF8 Speed is a fantastic gearbox actually. Really nice fast shifts. A lot of people actually think this is a dual clutch gearbox because of how fast it is. But yeah, handling wise, typical BMW. It is a little bit leery. And it's quick. Do you need more performance than this? Absolutely not. I mean, even the 420D is perfectly quick enough. This is just a bit smoother, a bit nicer. Feels a little bit more expensive. Right, brakes. BMW brakes, not always the best feel, but they do work. Can't really complain about them. No point doing a sound test. It's a diesel, you know what it sounds like. But yeah, lovely positive steering. Suspension deals with mid-corner bumps very well. It just inspires you with so much confidence. You can feel the rear squirming around. You really can. I mean, it's got enough power to drive on the throttle, which is lovely. Even at higher speeds, I suppose that's where the 20D engine kind of loses it a little bit. At higher speeds though, you really can drive this thing on the throttle. Just a fantastic engine. Really, really strong. Right, let's go for manual now. Braking, traction at the rear. Yeah, it never seems to understeer this. And yeah, the ESC is still on. It does let you have quite a lot of fun sometimes though, I have noticed that. Only other thing you have to watch is your speed in this. Because the engine's quite quiet, it just builds speed like a train. This gearbox is just brilliant. Does everything that you want. It's a nice Aston Martin Rapide. Let's overtake him. The only thing you notice in this though is compared to the 3.5D engine, it does definitely run out of puff a little bit sooner. Loads of mid-range torque, but yeah, above 4,000 it starts to lose quite a lot of energy. So the engine kind of feels more like an 8/10 engine. It doesn't really, you know, want to be revved out too much. But a fantastic engine nonetheless, and obviously plenty of power to get the tail out. I can see why police use this engine. It's got like enough performance to a point where no one's really going to get away from you. And it's a bit simpler than the 3.5D engine. You've got one less turbo to worry about. Bit easier to maintain. Very solid as well. And just blisteringly fast. Like, this is, like, fundamentally, this is your normal diesel car. And this will easily sit at 155 miles an hour all day long. Won't even break a sweat. Good fuel economy. Yeah. Hard to complain about. There's got to be something, though. Let's take it down a smaller B road and see if we can find any faults. Okay, favourite little B road. It's a good one for testing suspension, this. That mid-range torque is just brilliant. Very good response. Like, the second you plant your foot, this thing just rockets off. Yeah, suspension deals with bumps well. The car moves around underneath you. Brakes, again, not the best feel, but they do their job, which is okay. Yeah, it's just... I mean, this thing melts away road. Will we hit 60 before the corner? Oh, it's going to be close. No, of course it will. Look at that torque, man. So fast. Yeah, suspension over that bump is kind of okay. Do you notice it's a little bit floaty at higher speeds? Yeah, I can place this car exactly where I want it. Typical BMW stuff. One last time then. Just look at that. Just. So quick. There's not a single hot hatch on the planet that's going to get away from you down here. I mean, maybe a GR Yaris. That's basically a rally car, so that's not fair. But yeah, Audi S3. I mean, you'd probably go down here quicker in this, to be honest. A little bit of movement there. Very good little mile muncher, this thing. And you think, yeah, 258 horsepower, it's going to be fairly quick, but not, you know, melt your face off. It's just the torque, though. It's just the torque. It's just so effective. You just pile on speed in this thing. Which one would I go for, though? The 3.5D or the 30D? Personally, I think I'm still going to go with the 3.5D. This is great if you don't really need, like, more power than this, and you do just want a purely rear-wheel drive car. This is fantastic. But if I had to go for a diesel, there's just something about the 3.5D engine that feels quite special. And, you know, there's enough of a gap between this and the 3.5D that the 3.5D does still kind of justify itself, just about. And it'll do the same kind of economy figures as this. But yeah, overall, this is still just an absolute perfect package. Very difficult to fault, handles beautifully, fun to drive, fairly good on fuel. It's just so hard to fault. To sum it up then, if you have the money to go for a 4.35D, I would do that. If you don't, just get this.
I think this is the perfect balance between performance, economy and fun. Really cannot fault this thing one iota. Anyway, as always, if you enjoyed this review, give it a like, and why not subscribe, as not only can you see more content like this, you can see everything we have for sale, which includes this beautiful machine. Anyway, my name's Tom, and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'm going to go home and deal with my cold now. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.